You know what's wild? I see people in their 30s making six figures, driving cars that cost more than what their parents paid for their first house, living in apartments with rent that would make their grandparents faint, and somehow they're always broke. Like genuinely broke. Not the fake humble brag kind of broke where someone complains about money while booking their third vacation of the year. I'm talking about the kind of broke where they're stressed about an unexpected $500 expense, even though they're pulling in $8,000 a month. And the craziest part, they don't even realize they're the architect of their own financial prison. They keep upgrading their lifestyle every time they get a raise, telling themselves they deserve it, they've earned it, they work hard, and meanwhile, their net worth is basically flatlined at zero while time, the most valuable asset they have for building wealth, is just slipping away. My name is Richard, and I spend way too much time studying compound interest and why some people become millionaires while others stay financially unstable even when they're making good money. Today, we're diving into the major money milestones you need to hit in your 30s, and I guarantee some of what I'm about to tell you will make you think completely differently about wealth and what it actually takes to build it. Now, before we dive into the topic, let me share something that might surprise you. According to recent data, the median retirement savings for someone in their 30s is around $199,600, which sounds pretty good until you realize that's supposed to represent about 3 times your annual salary by the time you hit 40. The average income for a 40-year-old in the United States is roughly $62,000, which means you should have around $186,000 saved for retirement by that milestone. But here's where it gets interesting. If you actually hit that benchmark, that $186,000 at age 40, with consistent contributions and average market returns, grows into over $2 million by the time you're 67. But if you don't hit it, if you're behind, the math gets exponentially harder every single year you delay because you're not just losing the money you didn't save, you're losing all the compound growth that money would have generated over decades. And that's the part that nobody really explains to people. Your 30s aren't just another decade. They're the decade where small decisions create massive consequences because you still have time on your side, but that window's closing faster than most people realize. So let's talk about what you actually need to accomplish in your 30s if you want your future self to have options instead of obligations. And I'm not here to make you feel bad about where you currently stand financially. Maybe you're crushing some of these already, or maybe you're looking at your bank account right now wondering if you should just give up and accept that you'll be working until you're 80. Either way, these milestones aren't judgment calls. They're roadmaps to help you navigate what can honestly be a pretty overwhelming decade. The first major milestone is eliminating all consumer debt except your mortgage. And yes, I mean getting to zero, zilch, nada, credit cards, student loans, car payments, that furniture loan you took out 3 years ago that you're still paying off. All of it needs to go. I know what you're thinking. Richard, that sounds impossible. My student loans alone could fund a small country. But here's why this matters so much. Your 30s are your prime earning decade. Your salary is likely higher than it's ever been, and it's probably going to keep climbing. The last thing you want is consumer debt acting like financial quicksand, dragging down every dollar you earn. Think about it this way. If you're paying $400 a month in credit card payments and another $600 for your car loan, that's $1,000 every single month that could be going toward building wealth instead of making other people wealthy. Over a year, that's $12,000. Over a decade, that's $120,000. And that's not even accounting for what that money could have grown into if you'd invested it instead. Let's say you took that $1,000 a month and put it into a basic index fund averaging 7% returns. Over 10 years, you'd have roughly $175,000. But instead, that money is gone, vaporized, paying interest to banks and lenders while your future self gets nothing. Your 30s are also when life starts getting really complicated really fast. You're dealing with increased responsibilities at work, trying to manage a household, possibly raising kids, and for a lot of people, this is when aging parents start needing more support. Having consumer debt hanging over your head during all of this is like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Possible maybe, advisable definitely not. The thing is, we've normalized debt in this country to the point where people genuinely believe that having a car payment is just part of being an adult. Everyone has one, right? But wealthy people see debt completely differently. They see it as an emergency, not a lifestyle choice. And that shift in perspective, that's what separates people who build wealth from people who just look wealthy. The second milestone is achieving an excellent credit score, and I mean excellent. We're talking 800 or higher. Now, I can already hear some of you saying that credit scores don't matter if you're not planning to borrow money, but here's the reality check. Unless you're planning to pay cash for your house, your credit score is going to determine how much that mortgage costs you, and the difference is staggering. Let me put this in perspective with some actual numbers. Let's say you're buying a $400,000 house, which unfortunately isn't exactly mansion territory in most markets these days. With an excellent credit score, you might qualify for a 6.5% interest rate. Over 30 years, you'll pay roughly $511,000 in interest. Not great, but that's the reality of mortgages. Now, if your credit score is just slightly worse, not terrible, just not excellent, you might be looking at 7% instead. That seemingly tiny 0.5% difference means you'll pay about $558,000 in interest over the life of the loan. That's almost $50,000 more for the exact same house just because your credit score wasn't quite as good. But here's where it gets really painful. According to data from lending institutions, one late payment that's more than 30 days overdue can drop your credit score by as much as 180 points and stay on your credit report for up to 7 years. Imagine going from a 780 credit score to 600 because you forgot to pay your credit card bill 1 month. That one mistake could literally cost you tens of thousands of dollars in additional interest over the life of a mortgage. The good news is that maintaining an excellent credit score isn't rocket science. Pay your bills on time every time. Keep your credit utilization below 30%, ideally below 10%. Don't open new credit accounts unless you absolutely need them. And whatever you do, don't close old credit cards unless they have annual fees you can't justify, because your credit history length matters, and closing old accounts can actually hurt your score. The third milestone is something most people completely overlook, and it might be the most important of all. You need to have 3 times your annual salary saved for retirement by the time you turn 40. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're making $62,000 at 40, you should have around $186,000 saved. And this isn't just some arbitrary number that financial planners pulled out of thin air. It's about giving compound interest enough time and enough capital to actually work for you. Here's what people don't understand about this milestone. It's not really about the $186,000 itself. It's about giving yourself decades for that money to grow. If you hit that target at 40 and continue contributing consistently, retirement calculators suggest you could have over $2 million by the time you're 67. But if you're behind, if you're 35 with only $30,000 saved, the math gets exponentially harder. You can still catch up, but you'll need to save significantly more each month, and every year you delay makes it worse. I have friends making really good money, like well into 6 figures, and they're somehow always stressed about their retirement accounts. And when I actually look at their finances, it becomes pretty obvious why. They're saving maybe 5 or 10% of their income, which sounds responsible, but it's not nearly enough to hit these benchmarks. Meanwhile, they're spending money on things that make them look wealthy, but don't actually build wealth. The $70,000 car, the luxury apartment, eating out every night because cooking is apparently beneath them. Their income keeps going up, and their expenses magically rise to meet it, leaving them with the same amount left over as when they were making $30,000 less. It's like watching someone pour water into a bucket with holes in the bottom and wondering why it never fills up. The fourth milestone is building what I call a bulletproof emergency fund. In your 20s, the standard advice was 3 to 6 months of expenses. In your 30s, I want you to think bigger. We're talking 6 to 12 months of living expenses, maybe even more if your income is variable or you're self-employed. Why the increase? Because your 30s come with way more potential emergencies. Your house decides the water heater needs replacing at the worst possible moment. Your kid needs emergency dental work. Your car breaks down, and of course it's something expensive and complicated. Your aging parents need help with unexpected medical bills. Or maybe, and this is the good kind of emergency, an incredible investment opportunity comes along that requires quick action. Having a well-stocked emergency fund isn't just about financial security, it's about having options. When you know you can handle whatever life throws at you, you can take calculated risks that might pay off big. You can negotiate from a position of strength at work. You can help family members when they need it. You can sleep better at night knowing that a surprise expense won't derail your entire financial plan. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. I know someone who got laid off at 37. His wife was pregnant. Mortgage payment was $2,800 a month. He had 4 months of expenses saved, which sounds responsible, right? Except it took him 5 months to find a comparable job. And that last month he had to borrow from his 401k, which triggered taxes and penalties and basically destroyed a chunk of his retirement savings. Meanwhile, his buddy who got laid off in the same round had 10 months of expenses saved. He took his time finding the right role, not just any role. He negotiated a $15,000 signing bonus because he wasn't desperate. He never panicked once. Same layoff, completely different outcomes, and the only difference was how much they had saved for emergencies. The key is keeping this money somewhere. It can earn decent interest but still be easily accessible. High-yield savings accounts are perfect for this. You're not trying to get rich off your emergency fund. You're trying to preserve your wealth and maintain flexibility. And in your 30s, when multiple financial pressures are hitting you simultaneously, that flexibility is worth more than almost anything else. The fifth milestone is getting your estate planning sorted out. And I know this sounds morbid, but if you have kids, a mortgage, or significant assets, you need basic estate planning documents in place. This isn't about planning for death, it's about planning for life's unexpected curveballs. What happens if you're in an accident and can't make decisions for yourself? Who takes care of your kids if something happens to both you and your spouse? What happens to your house, your retirement accounts, your life insurance? Without proper documentation, these decisions get made by courts and bureaucrats instead of by you. I dragged my feet on getting a will for 2 years after my daughter was born. Kept telling myself I'd get to it. Then someone I know lost their husband unexpectedly at 38. No will, no clear plan. She spent 8 months in legal hell figuring out guardianship for their kids, access to accounts, everything. It cost her $30,000 in legal fees to sort out what would have cost maybe $1,500 to set up properly. I had my estate plan done within 2 weeks of hearing that story. The good news is that basic estate planning isn't nearly as complicated or expensive as most people think. You can get started with simple online tools for basic wills and powers of attorney. Sure, if you have a complicated financial situation or family dynamics that would make a soap opera jealous, you'll want to work with an attorney. But for most people, having something is infinitely better than having nothing. And here's the thing nobody talks about. Estate planning is actually one of the most loving things you can do for your family. You're making sure they're taken care of if you're not around. You're sparing them the nightmare of trying to figure out what you would have wanted while they're grieving. It's not morbid, it's responsible. The sixth milestone is developing what I call financial confidence. And this isn't about having a specific dollar amount in your accounts. It's about understanding your financial situation well enough to make informed decisions without constantly second-guessing yourself or panicking every time the stock market has a bad day. Financial confidence comes from having systems in place, understanding your numbers, and knowing that you can handle whatever financial challenges come your way. It means you're not lying awake at 3 in the morning wondering if you're saving enough for retirement or if you can afford that vacation you've been planning. This is also when having a comprehensive financial plan becomes crucial, not just helpful. You need to understand how all the pieces of your financial puzzle fit together. Your emergency fund, your retirement savings, your kids' education funds if you have kids, your insurance coverage, your estate planning documents. All of these elements should work together as part of a cohesive strategy. Some people can create and manage this plan themselves, especially if they enjoy diving deep into financial planning spreadsheets and staying up to date on tax law changes. Others benefit from working with a financial planner who can help coordinate all these moving pieces and provide objective advice when emotions start clouding judgment. And let me be clear, hiring a financial planner doesn't mean you're bad with money. It means you understand that specialized expertise has value. You wouldn't try to fix your own transmission or perform your own surgery, right? Financial planning is the same thing. If you have a complex situation, multiple income sources, significant assets, or you just genuinely hate dealing with this stuff, paying someone to help you is probably one of the smartest investments you can make. The cost of a planner might be a few $1,000s a year, but the cost of screwing up your financial plan can be tens or even hundreds of thousands over your lifetime. The seventh milestone ties into everything else, and it's something that almost nobody talks about in personal finance circles. You need to invest in your health. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this turned into a fitness channel, hear me out. Your health is your greatest financial asset, and your 30s are when you either build that asset or start watching it depreciate. Think about it mathematically. The average American spends over $300,000 on healthcare during their lifetime. If you can reduce that by even 20% through preventive care, better nutrition, regular exercise, and not doing stupid things like smoking, you've just saved yourself $60,000. That's not counting the income you don't lose due to sick days, the career opportunities you don't miss because you feel terrible, or the quality of life improvements that come from actually feeling good in your own body. Your 30s are also when your metabolism decides to take an extended vacation. I used to be able to eat pizza for breakfast, lunch, and dinner without gaining an ounce. Now I look at a donut and gain 5 pounds. It's like my body is playing some kind of cruel joke on me. But here's the thing. Developing healthy habits now, while you still have some metabolic flexibility, is way easier than trying to fix decades of damage in your 50s. This doesn't mean you need to become a fitness influencer or start eating nothing but kale and quinoa. It means finding sustainable ways to move your body regularly, eating food that actually nourishes you most of the time, getting enough sleep, and managing stress before it manages you. Trust me, the money you spend on a gym membership, quality food, and maybe a trainer is nothing compared to what you'll spend later trying to fix preventable health problems. The eighth milestone is starting to think seriously about your kids' education if you have or plan to have kids. College costs have increased at twice the rate of inflation for the past 30 years, and there's no sign of that trend slowing down. The average cost of a 4-year degree at a public university is now over $40,000 per year when you include room, board, and other expenses. For private schools, you're looking at closer to $70,000 annually. Now, I'm not saying you need to fully fund your child's entire college education, but starting early gives compound interest time to work in your favor. A 529 education savings plan is specifically designed for this purpose, offering tax advantages that can significantly boost your savings over time. The money grows tax-free, and when you use it for qualified education expenses, you don't pay taxes on the withdrawals either. Many states also offer tax deductions for contributions. It's like getting a discount on your kid's education just for planning ahead. Even if you can only save $50 or $100 a month, starting when your child is young means that money has 15 to 18 years to grow. And if your kid ends up not needing all the money for college, you can transfer it to another child, use it for yourself for continuing education, or even roll some of it into a Roth IRA under new rules. The point is, starting early gives you options. Waiting until your kid is in high school and then panicking about how you're going to pay for college gives you stress, and probably debt. Your 30s are essentially your financial prime time. You're earning more than you probably ever have before. You have decades for compound interest to work its magic. But you also have more financial responsibilities and competing priorities than ever before. The decisions you make during this decade will largely determine whether your 50s and 60s are spent worrying about money or enjoying the fruits of your earlier discipline and planning. And here's the thing that nobody really emphasizes enough. These milestones aren't meant to overwhelm you or make you feel like you're behind some imaginary schedule that everyone else seems to be following perfectly. They're meant to give you a roadmap so you can actually enjoy your 40s, 50s, and beyond without constantly worrying about whether you'll be able to afford retirement or if you'll be working until you're 85. The beautiful thing about being in your 30s is that you still have time to course correct if you're behind on some of these goals. Sure, it would have been nice to start earlier, but beating yourself up about past financial decisions is about as productive as trying to drive while looking only in the rearview mirror. So pick one or two of these milestones that resonate most with your current situation and start there. Maybe it's finally tackling that credit card debt, or maybe it's opening that high-yield savings account you've been procrastinating on for 6 months. Small, consistent actions compound just like your investments. And the version of you at 65 will either thank you or resent you based on what you do right now in your 30s when you still have time on your side.